In the shadow of the Grand Andes, where the sun kissed the mountains and whispered tales of the ancients, there was a village known as Chilca. It was a humble place where simple folk tended their llamas, wove vibrant textiles, and shared meals beneath thatched roofs. There, in the hushed corners, lived a street dog named Pacha. Her name meant earth in Quechua. But for the villagers, she was more than just a creature roaming the cobbled streets. She was a guardian of their stories, a keeper of hearts. Pacha was a mixed breed, a mix of Andean street smarts and the tenderness that came from years of living among the villagers. Her coat bore the earthy browns and shades of the mountain soil, with flecks of white that reminded the villagers of snow-capped peaks. Her amber eyes sparkled with a blend of mischief and empathy. Every evening, as twilight draped over Chilca, she would patrol the village, greeting every child and elder with an exuberance that brightened even the hardest of days. One fateful evening, as the sun sank behind the rugged horizon, casting a golden hue over the village, children played in the dust, while laughter rippled through the air. Pacha, basking in the warmth, felt a strange tremor unravel her joyous spirit. It was not the first hint of unease she had sensed in recent weeks. Rumors had started to circulate about the arrival of foreigners in heavy clothes who spoke a language strange and sharp, their eyes glinting with the harsh light of ambition. Weeks passed, and the whispers grew into calls of alarm. On the edges of the village, menacing shadows stirred in the night. Pacha sensed the fear that blanketed the village like a thick fog, stifling the laughter of children and drowning the voices of the elders. It was then that she noticed the family she had come to love, the Quispy family, beginning to pack their belongings. Elderly Dona Quispy sat on her porch, her hands shaking as she tucked away the colorful blankets she had woven for generations. "They are coming," she murmured, her voice a ghost of itself. Pacha's heart ached, beating in sync with the despair she perceived. She would not stand idly by. She needed to protect her family, the only family she had ever known. That night, beneath the vast tapestry of stars, Pacha made her way through the village. Pausing at each door, barking softly, urging them to stay, to fight. Her cries echoed through the valleys, but courage had fled. One by one, families began to leave, believing they could outrun the dark tide bearing down upon them. As the days wore on, the strangers arrived in droves, bringing steel and smoke, trampling the land with the weight of their metal beasts. Pacha, frantic and unwilling to abandon her home, found herself alone, watching the last of the villagers disappear into the wailing winds produced by the random bursts of conquest. She chased after their departing silhouettes, a rogue dog bound by loyalty and love, but her calls failed to anchor them back. They were swept away, presuming safety lay beyond the mountains. Days turned into weeks. Pacha roamed the remnants of the village, once vibrant, now echoing with silence. Buildings that had known the warmth of love stood desolate, their walls crumbling like the spirits of the people who once filled them. She scavenged for scraps and drank from the cool streams, all the while keeping vigilant eyes on the forest and the hills, waiting for her family to return. But time wore on relentlessly, and the ghostly whispers of memories filled her mind. A laugh, a gentle caress on her fur, the echo of children's feet pattering along the cobblestones. Then, within the shadows of despair, hope glimmered faintly. One morning, as the sun broke through the mist like a tender promise, Pacha spotted movement at the edge of the village. A silhouette she could barely recognize took shape, cloaked in the morning garb of the earth. With a joyous bark, she sprinted across the dusty ground, throwing herself at the figure, the smell of familiarity sparking a flicker of her former joy. Doña Quispe gasped at her eyes, widening in disbelief as she knelt to embrace her long-lost friend. "Pacha, my heart, you survived," she wept, clutching the dog close to her chest. But before the reunion could swell with laughter, Pacha sensed a profound heaviness in the air. The old woman was frail. The journey had taken a toll on her fragile body. "Where is everyone?" Pacha's eyes sparkled with hope, but Dona Quisp's gaze fell to the ground. "Most have fled to seek refuge in far-off lands. The strangers have taken much of what we loved. I thought perhaps to return. I did not want to believe home could be lost." Tears slipped quietly down the revered contours of her face. Pacha understood. One could not preserve the essence of home when the very heart had been torn away. Together, they walked through the village, Pacha leading the way, her spirit still refusing to succumb to despair. No longer vibrant, the houses loomed like sentinels, mourning the laughter of those who once called them home. They ventured to the plaza where Pacha had once played with the children, spinning circles and rolling in the sun's warmth. But it was empty, now void of life, drained of joy. Dona Quispy sat on a weathered bench, her hands tracing the worn wood, memories flooding her heart. "I thought I would be returning to a home alive with spirit," she whispered, the weight of her longing palpable. Pacha nestled beside her, offering the warmth of her presence. In that moment, a bond formed of shared sorrow that echoed in the quiet expanse between them. Days turned into a slow drum of indifferent time, filled with fleeting sunrises and blurry sunsets. Pacha and Dona Quispy lived in the remnants of the village, surrounded by shadows of what once was. Each evening, Pacha would patrol the outskirts, sniffing for any signs of the villagers she adored. But the days stretched into weeks with only silence to answer her calls. One evening, as golden light spilled across the dewy fields, Pacha felt the stirrings of something troubling in her bones. She chased a fleeting scent through the overgrown grass, but it eluded her, weaving through the rising shadows. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath her, a distant rumble, a dangerous sign. Pacha turned and raced back, her instincts telling her that she had little time before danger consumed what was left of what little was in Chilka. Panic seized her. She sensed the decay of the land as the darkness drew near once more. On the final evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Dona Quispy sat at the edge of the village with Pacha nestled at her feet, both watching the horizon. "What can we do, Pacha?" she asked, her voice cracking. "We were once so full of life, could we find it again?" The dog leaned closer, pressing her head against Dona Quisp's leg, somehow wishing that her warmth could instill hope. But the village, their once vibrant home, was fading into shadows, and so too was Dona Quisp's spirit. With each passing night, Pacha became a specter, existing solely to keep Dona Quispy's dreams alive in lullabies sung under the constellations they had once cherished. Until one bitter morning, Dona Quisp's breath grew shallow, her warmth fading beneath Pacha's watchful gaze, leaving behind a heart-wrenching ache. As she crossed into the realm beyond, Pacha howled a lament that echoed through the valleys, a chorus mourning the loss of love, of safety, of home. Days melded into each other, a blur of sadness and solitude. The once vibrant village remained a shell of memories, and Pacha became a solitary shadow flitting through the dust. The echoes of laughter long extinguished, she prowled the desolate landscape, searching for the voices of friends long gone, even as the sun and moon continued their dance overhead. Pacha's heart ached for a reunion that would never be filled with memories of laughter and warmth, now reduced to whispers of wind through the valleys. Beneath the shadow of the Andes, Pacha wandered ever onward, a faithful guardian bound to memories of a love once held, seeking solace in the sacred earth but never ceasing her longing for home, forever tethered to the hope that one day perhaps the laughter would return. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that explores the deep connections we share with the world around us. See you next time.